lined up the top stars from Hollywood and from all over the world to entertain you on a giant screen with a few colorful motion pictures you've been hearing about and reading
It's
about.
showtime, folks. Enjoy the show.
We're delighted to have you with us. They're driving theater.
You'll find something to please you to add to your evening's enjoyment.
Is pleased to bring you our feature presentation.
Good evening, everybody. Happy New Year. It is New Year's Day, January 1st, 2024.
How about it?
And you are tuned in to the Drive-In Speaker Box. I'm your host, Bo, the boom operator.
And I am Jake, the grip.
And if you're just now tuning in for the first time, maybe, for 2024, you're like, new year, new podcast. We're going to be talking to you about movie stuff. We're going to talk to you about the world of movies. We're going to talk to you about media. We're going to be talking to you about what's coming out in theaters, what's making money. We're going to talk about mergers. We're going to talk about just like the evolution of how we consume film and TV right here. So, yeah, man, it's going to be good. So if you're just now joining us, on wherever it is you like to join us, it be it the audio version of this, wherever you download podcasts, or on Facebook or on YouTube. We've already been talking for about a half hour on Twitch. So if you follow us on Twitch, subscribe, or just follow us, you can get in on that early access. You get to chat with us where we talk about all kinds of stuff. And we were just talking about, the Amazon Prime email that came out recently about, hey, we're going to have ads now. If you want to pay $2.99 more, you can have it without ads. You get premium service. Or you can just keep paying the same old and have it be like Crackle and old Hulu, where it was like an ad every 15 seconds. Like,
Wow.
I don't know how many ads we're going to see.
Original Crackle was you had a block of 3 or 4 commercials in the middle of the movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was the good time.
But then they spaced it out where it's like
Yeah.
once every 15 minutes you got to watch an ad. And the thing that drove me nuts about those is like the technology never worked right. So like I remember doing it on Crackle once and then on Hulu once where it would get to like the first ad and it would play and then it'd go maybe to like the second ad and that would play and kind of freeze and stop and it wouldn't pick up and I'd have to skip back and it was like, no, well now you're starting again. So you got to watch this more ads. And I'm just like, fuck it. I don't want to watch this anymore. Mm-hmm. But Amazon, again, kind of a bait and switch, getting us to be like, oh, we're getting this bonus if we pay for a premium experience that we literally just had. Mm-hmm. Like, and Amazon doesn't need the money. Like, that's the thing that blows my mind. Like, if this was like if we're talking about like Night Flight or whatever, like the streaming service I subscribe to, and I don't know why, it's weird. Actually, if you want some really weird stuff to watch, get yourself a Night Flight subscription. That shit's bananas. And it's apparently like, a little bit before our time, but Night Flight was a show that would come on cable television like in the early 80s. It would play a lot of just like weird stuff and music videos and just like indie movies. And,
oh, yeah.
And so they have their own streaming service
I
now.
forgot that I saw ads for that a couple months back.
Yeah, and so I subscribed, and it's pretty dope. Now, if Night Flight was like, hey, times is tough, streaming's hard, give us an extra $2, I'd be like, okay. But Amazon, who's like, profits are an additional extra $1 trillion this year, but we're going to have to ask you to pay $3 more.
Isn't Night Flight like, it's like, oh, times are tough for these royalty-free movies that everyone let the copyright lapse on. Is that what it is? They got like music videos and stuff on there too, right?
They have a lot of really
It's like
neat stuff.
just a very 80s, like early 90s experience.
A lot of like stuff that someone would be like, oh, dude, have you seen this? I've got it on VHS. No one has this. And, it's a lot of weird stuff. But yeah, it that's, I think, the most insulting thing to me about it is that Amazon doesn't need this money. And, there's no amount of talking me out of the economics of Amazon. Like, fuck you, Bezos. You've got this money. Like, you personally have this money. You could give us all free streaming media forever and it'd be okay.
Yeah, it's something like he could give every person 10 grand and it not even matter to him.
No,
Like,
no.
you ever see
He'd
those
still
things
be
about
a
the numbers where it's like the things they could do that would have no effect on them whatsoever?
My favorite one was like, if you were around when Jesus was here and you made $15,000 every day, and fast forward to now, you still wouldn't even be close to how much Bezos makes.
Yeah, I've read those stats and stuff before. It's like, yeah, you could have, been alive for 2,000 years or been on the Mayflower or like whatever the hell, making X amount of dollars every day and live to now and still not even have a fraction of what he has.
It's crazy. So your price hike, get out of here with that. But, it does show how powerful corporate everything is, and it kind of brings me into one of the news points that I wanted to mention about.
It's wild, right?
It's 2024.
Yep.
Which means Mickey Mouse, Steamboat Willie should technically be in public domain now. I mean, they're streaming it all over the place, but Disney is like, you know what? Actually, no. And we talked about this a while back. We're like, let's see how this pans out because Disney is not going to allow this. And, everybody already knows how Disney's like locked away a bunch of, it's a couple of decades worth of stuff from public domain, all for preserving its ownership, of Mickey Mouse or whatever. But then there was the Copyright Term Extension Act of 1998, which they kind of loosely call the Mickey Mouse Protection Act. Did extend a little bit of copyright protection, but it's a weird, like, nuanced issue that Disney's got their finger on. And if you kind of read and follow this, they're not going to let this go because, again, going back to how times are changing and technology is getting to the point where we can archive so much and keep our freaking fingers on it so tightly that I think a lot of this stuff is never going to hit public domain.
Maybe.
But have you guys been keeping up with any of this?
The only thing close to it that I've really paid attention to is that there's supposed to be a new video game, a first-person shooter game that has all like Steamboat Willie looking characters in it. It's a black and white mouse like FPS thing done kind of like Cuphead.
Oh, there's a lot of stuff getting introduced right now. That there's a whole bunch of like registered trademarks coming out right now that have a Steamboat Willie looking deal. So it's going to be really interesting to see how many of those start entering the sphere and saying like, no, this is like Steamboat Willie. That's public domain. That's so old. And they go, it's pretty close to Mickey Mouse. It's kind of like how here locally, we live in Northwest Arkansas, Fayetteville, Arkansas, home of the Arkansas Razorbacks. If you're into college football, but they're very protective of the Razorback, obviously. But if you get something even close like a red pig, they're like, oh no, lawyers. And it's like, well, if I was just a dude and I copyrighted like a red pig and then some other dude was like, well, I made a darker red hog, it would fucking fail in court, right? But because these people with all this money and influence are like, no, it's pretty close, so little guy, get out of here. We're going to make sure you get squashed. And I think that's going to happen with Disney. So Velvet Santa on Twitch asks, do you think Batman or Superman will ever hit public domain?
I doubt it. I think that just gets renewed so often and kept up with because it's new issues are published on each title at least monthly. And both of those characters probably have multiple titles. So they're getting released every week by DC in publication. So I'm sure
there's something there.
Yeah.
But yeah, very strange. Also in the news this week, speaking of monster mergers and corporations, I don't know if you heard about this, but Warner Brothers Discovery, which was another big merger, and then there was the whole thing that was going to be merged with AT&T, and that fell through. But now Warner Brothers Discovery and Paramount are talking about merging, right? And this could be huge because, what Paramount and Warner Brothers Discovery are talking about is like it's getting harder and harder for them to compete with the juggernauts that are Apple and Amazon and Netflix to a lesser extent, which aren't necessarily production companies. They were technology companies that are now production companies. And while Warner Brothers and Discovery have always just been production companies, but Warner Brothers Paramount has a shitload of debt too, to the tune of like $44 billion. You know, I think Paramount has about $17 billion in debt that they're paying off. But if that were to happen, you know, because they're having difficulties with like what Paramount Plus, and you know, I think they also have is Max a part of that?
Yeah, WB.
Yeah, WB. So then they would be able to take those two streaming services and kind of merge them into one bigger, little more beefier streaming service. So everything that you've ever bought on those things now goes away and you have to buy it again. Harkening back to shit we say all the time.
Yeah, you
like
don't own
anything
digital.
So, you know, it'd be really interesting. And I don't think, like Dina said, antitrust lawsuit. I don't think that they're big enough to really create an antitrust lawsuit now, because you've got juggernauts like Amazon doing Amazon shit and things like Disney doing Disney shit.
There's extra studios now with Amazon and Netflix and Apple, so it's not like Warner Brothers and Paramount merging would make it where there's only two studios and one of them is just an absolute juggernaut.
Yeah. I mean, if there's ever going to be an antitrust, it should be already have been at Disney.
Yeah, with everything Disney has. So I think with the extra studios, there's still enough competition there that they could point out and be like, no, dude, look, there's Netflix and Amazon and whoever, and, you know, be able to get away with that kind of thing.
So Vince said something on Twitch just now that reminded me of an interesting point that I forgot to make when someone, when Velvet Santa asked about Batman and Superman hitting public domain. I think one of the reasons that Batman and Superman won't for a while is because the companies that created them still exist, right? And
ownership changes constantly with that kind of thing too, right?
And Vince said also entering public domain in 2024 was Tigger and Peter Pan. And both of those things we associate with Disney, but they were not created by Disney. Disney got famous by animating those stories, but they did not originally create or own these. And I think that that's what makes Steamboat Willie a little sticky, is because Disney did. They created that.
I wonder how that works, because J.M. Barrie's estate keeps a hold of Peter Pan, right? Like, so how does that work?
I don't know.
Just like Tolkien's estate and everything like that, they try and keep that protected. So I wonder how J.M. Barrie's Peter Pan has that happen to it, because how do they not just keep a hold of that?
I don't know. Be interesting to find out, though. You know, we'll keep our eyes on that. But as that's, you know, new year, new problems, man. New year, one step closer to interesting things. Dina says Steamboat Willie's specific animation is public domain, and illustrations specific to those books are public domain. Vince says J.M. Barrie's play Peter Pan or the Boy Who Wouldn't Grow Up was a 1904 play, but not published for copyright purposes until 1928. So yeah, little factoids there for you.
That's where the name Wendy came from.
Oh, well, I didn't know that either. Nice.
That did not exist until Peter Pan.
Yeah, other bits of news. This isn't really news, but it was a really interesting article that I recommend anybody want to read. It was over on Slash Film that I read this week, and it was called "Here's Why Movie Dialogue Has Gotten More Difficult to Understand and 3 Ways to Fix It." It was a really, really cool article that I read that, of course, me being the former sound guy that I am, touched on a lot of really interesting topics of like why newer and newer movies, we kind of want to look at subtitles. We can't understand what people are saying on screen. There's so much just noise and madness going on. And it kind of breaks this down. This guy went out and interviewed a lot of professional sound guys. A lot of them wanted to stay anonymous because they're like, dude, I want to keep having work here, you know. But a lot of the stuff, if you're interested in the world of sound and interested in the problems that sound guys face, is a great read. And it goes into stuff that I've talked about here on the show, and I thought it was really, really cool and really interesting. So if you want to check out that article, it's over on Slash Film. But but they go into talking about like it's certain directors have this weird choice. It's certain actors have now with the advent of like these bigger, longer, crazier scenes, like, and actors don't necessarily project in the way they used to, like in the old cinema days. But one of the big ones was on set, they just don't respect sound a lot. They're just like, oh, well, we'll fix it in post. And everybody got used to that. So like getting good sound on the front end has gotten so hard. And, you know, I remember just as my days as a production sound guy, you know, you don't always get that chance to get a second take, like, because, you know, and now it's getting harder and harder to get that mic where you need it because everybody's moving so fast and it's all for camera. A lot of sound guys don't have the ability to be like, can I get another one for sound? Like, nah. Don't worry, we got it. We'll get it next. We'll get it on the fix it in post. We'll fix it in post. And that's just their lack of not understanding. And so one of these guys who was a production mixer, he's like, you know, yeah, we fix it in post. It's not that we want to, and it sucks and it's hard, but it's just what we have to do. And they force this stuff on it. So anyway, really interesting read. If you're a fan of the show, I don't want to like vortex on it, but it's a great article.
Just wait till they start using AI to help fill in the dialogue where it can't be heard, right?
AI to like supplement ADR. Oh God, that would be really, really bad. You got anything over there?
Yeah, man. Well, we talked about it a little bit. The Prime price hike at the end of the month. There was some announcement by the vice president of Blumhouse saying that the Dead by Daylight movie is still something that he's really wanting to do and working on getting going because he wants to have that movie out there, especially now that Five Nights at Freddy's was such a success there at the theater. Having another horror video game movie made that is like something that is for horror fans. Because have you ever seen the Dead by Daylight stuff? They constantly release new DLC for it where you play as like different killers from different movies just all over. And then that article you just talked about, Chris Tucker, can you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Well, the bad guy from the first what's the name of that movie? I just had it in my head. Jackie Chan, Chris Tucker.
Oh, well, now that you said it,
I know. It's
not Shanghai Noon. So it's Rush Hour.
Rush Hour, yeah. The bad guy from the first Rush Hour, Juntao, Tom Wilkinson passed away the other day. That's what I remember him from the most. He was always some turd in a suit in like almost every movie he was in. And that was the one that was like the most memorable for me.
The biggest turd.
Yeah, because he was Juntao. He was the bad guy, against Jackie Chan. And then something that was kind of interesting is that even though Aquaman has not been doing very well at all at the box office, right, by comic book standards kind of a thing, and it's 2 weeks out, has brought in like over 200 million at the global box office, which beats the Marvel's entire theatrical run.
Damn.
Because globally it made like just under 200 million.
Damn.
And so even though Aquaman's not doing great and everyone likes to talk about how it's, Aquaman sinks or however they, word those articles.
People just like to hate on DC. I've said this before. I think it's more fun for people to hate on DC than it is to academically take these things and go, this is why it maybe wasn't bad. Like people have this like sort of defense of Marvel that I think is starting to erode a little bit. But man, people love to hate DC.
Yeah, but so Aquaman's already doing better than the last Marvel movie that came out. So
yeah, take that, Marvel. What else you got?
I think that's it. It wasn't really like a big news week.
No, it really wasn't. It wasn't. I watched like on IMDb, they had the whole, here's the people who died list, which was kind of sad. I'm not going to watch that again because it's just sad. But there's like, everybody always asks us to do these like lists and these things at the end of the year. And I don't know, we used to do this whole like worst of 2020, whatever year was before us list. And it kind of got exhausting because everything was kind of bad. And there's so many things out. People are like, well, this was on streaming and this was whatever. And, you think about like, okay, well, how am I going to narrow down the 10 worst movies when there was like the Marvels were just out there? And I mean, what's in the theater right now? Like,
well, and that's why we would have our rules where it's like we had to go watch it. Like,
right.
Actually watch it and stuff and sit through the movie. Which, at the end of the year, we were both always cramming as many movies in on rental or streaming or whatever to try and...
But yeah, like Dina just said on Twitch, she said, I loved your list, but it isn't really viable anymore. Because, it's the landscape's changed so much. And we've just been doing this show for so long. James over on Facebook says, got a Lumix cinematography cam. My New Year's resolution is to make some interesting stories. Ooh, that's cool. Yeah, you should share them. I'd love to check them out. The Lumix cinematography cam.
I think it was last week, maybe, was the anniversary of the very first movie presented in a theater for ticket sales. It was, in France or whatever with the Lumiere brothers or whatever it was. You know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Like the dudes that made movies. And it was like the anniversary of the first time someone paid to watch a film.
That's pretty cool. I'm curious what model you got. I'm looking at right now. These are, some of these Lumix are like 5Gs, 4Gs. Jeez. Like, I'd love to see what you do with those. And you can post them over on our social media. It'd be cool. Let's see. If there's not any other news, I mean,
everything was all like interviews with different people. Like they're like, oh, Gary Oldman actually doesn't like his performance in Harry Potter, and Ding Dong talked to so and so and said that this deal happened in the behind the scenes or something. Like none of it was super interesting. One thing is that Solar is still doing really badass. That's super cool to see. It officially surpassed Jawan's opening, and but Jawan had a better second week than Solar has so far, making it where Solar is not the biggest Indian movie of the year. However, it's still doing really well, so that's cool.
Heck yeah. In terms of length, Vince. But I guess that's a great segue into what we normally talk about this time is like movies that are coming out this weekend. Not a lot of big theatrical releases yet. Again, January, so it's a weird week. But there is a horror one, just like Dina said. We're on the cusp of the January horror push. Probably starting off with Night Swim, which is already creepy, like swimming in the dark and not being able to see like what's under your feet. Like people that swim in lakes at night are just, there's something broken inside of you. Like there are creatures down there and they will get you. Don't.
Beaver Lake has catfish the size of Volkswagen Beetles, man.
Yeah, they do. And you, Lord knows what else down there. Monsters, probably. But Night Swim, Wyatt Russell, of course, Kurt Russell's son. That's coming out in theaters this week. If you've not seen the trailer, here, maybe I'll just pop it up on the screen for you guys, and you guys can take a little look. And looks about like what you'd think, like, ooh, swimming, stick your hand in the what's my action figure there, and then there's like a big wad of hair that's also a monster, and it's just like this water monster that
you
can when you're swimming.
The action figure.
Yeah. So that was a weird fear that I actually had when I was a kid. Like I was always a really good swimmer, and I was not afraid of swimming. But this is about like a pool that has like a creature in it that has like a thirst for blood or something. And I don't know, it seems a little stupid. But I was always afraid of like, man, if I'm swimming by myself in the deep end at night, even though I can see the floor, there might be something down here and it might get me. And I'm wondering if the people that came up with this movie had the same fear. It's just no thanks, man. So Blumhouse, James Wan, the producers of Megan, I think they're hoping for more Megan success, but we will see. So that is coming out.
It's kind of weird that it's just in someone's backyard or whatever.
Well, I think it's because there's like some lore to the house. Like there's this underneath this pool is this creature, and you know you saw what's his name, Wyatt Russell, like cut his hand and he got a little blood, and the pool was like human blood.
Yeah, but like after one or two weird things, who's gonna be like, let's keep the pool going? Like,
well, no, that's the
nobody.
story of the house. It's like a new people move in, and they're like, the pool's been like decommissioned for 10 years. They're like, well, it looks like a pretty good pool. Might as well bring it back to life. And then they fill it up, and it's like, I'm alive.
It's like different families just rotating in and out of this house.
Yeah, well, it's the realtor that never tells you that there was like brutal murders in the house. They're like, no, it's a great deal. Shake her hand. Have a great life. Yeah, so. Night Swim coming out in theaters this weekend. Also coming out probably in limited release is from director Michael Franco. It's a movie called Memory. It's about this lady Sylvia as a social worker, and she lives a simple, structured life. It's kind of blown all to pieces when Saul follows her home from their high school reunion. Their surprise encounter profoundly impacts both of them as they open the door to the past. So there's olive branches on this one, so it's probably not coming to a theater near you, but it'll be around. Also, Race for Glory, Audi versus Lancia.
Yeah, that sounds cool.
A lot of movies about racing right now, but this is inspired by the true events that occurred during the rivalry between kind of Germany and Italy at the 1983 Rally World Championships. It's directed by Stefano Morditti, and it's got Daniel Bruhl and Riccardo Scamarcio in the lead. You probably recognize those guys if you saw them. But movie about cars, movie about fast cars, and
It's about rally.
well, those are fast cars.
Yeah, very fast cars doing insane things. That could be pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of these movies. I mean, Ferrari's in theaters right now, and we had that one last year. What was that one about? Was it Ford? It wasn't Ford.
That was a while back. The Ford versus Ferrari was a while back.
Yeah, that's what Ford versus Ferrari, and
But
there was
Gran Turismo was just in theaters.
Gran Turismo. A lot of car movies. What's going on, guys? And then also coming out in limited release, probably just going to hit streaming, but it does have olive branches as well. It's from director Katie Burrell. It's a comedy called Weak Layers. It's about some party-loving best friends set out to win a ski movie competition, and an uproarious comedy that takes on the male-dominated ski industry, which I wasn't aware of until just now. There's here, I'll pull it up, and it's like, it looks like a ski party movie. There's like, here's the group of friends. One of them's crazy. One of them's the jock. One of them's the party animal. One of them's the hornball. And then, they're doing, like, wasn't this, like,
There's a
this
movie.
was like the 80s, right?
What's that movie about the
Ski
skiing?
Patrol?
No.
Better Off Dead?
There's a bunch of them, right? No, there was a movie that was about like it's called like Snow Days or something, right? It was just people at a resort. Like that one dude gets his wiener stuck in the hot tub. It's like Zach Galifianakis or something.
Hot Dog, says Velvet Santa. I'm not familiar. I don't know. I thought that like these zany ski resort movies or subculture stopped in like 1985 or something, but I guess it's still around. I don't know. Logan Van We go, I want my $2. Out cold, says James. Like,
Yeah, I think that was it. Yeah.
I guess they're just gonna bring back the ski movie genre, which I don't know who asked for it, but
Johnny Tsunami.
here we are.
I think Johnny Tsunami's probably the last good one, huh?
Ski movies.
Yeah,
How is this a
It's
thing?
Always Sunny episode. Yeah, it's pretty funny. I don't know, man. I mean, I thought people kind of
Hot
got
Dog
over
Time
that
Machine.
because it's like you got to have like you got to be someone with dollars to do like the ski resort thing, and people don't like people that have dollars anymore.
I mean, maybe that's the thing. Like, skiing is definitely a a rich people sport. You know, you don't just like go, oh man, you know, I'm having a really difficult time making ends meet, but we're gonna go on a ski trip this next weekend. I mean, like, you can go to the beach. Like, going to the beach is for poor people, right? Because the beach is free. You just get down there and you're there. But like going to a ski resort, you have to have like all this fancy gear, and you're staying in some fancy place with like fancy fireplaces and fancy hot cocos and fucking beanies that cost $70, and you know, everyone's attractive. Ugh, I don't want to go there. Yeah, Velvet Sin says pickleball is annoying too. And James says ski ninjas. Let's see that. I'm okay with this. Let's see some ski ninjas. PN says Hot Tub Time Machine. Yeah, Hot Tub Time Machine was kind of a ski movie. It was a little bit of a ski movie.
A little bit, yeah. Also had old Better Off Dead dude.
John Cusack?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, there you have it. That's what's coming out in theaters this week. You can check it out if you want. Not Alice, she says, I think a lot of the ones from childhood were rich guys versus the workers type plots.
Oh, yeah. Every time.
Well, I mean,
that was how every sports movie was.
Yeah, all the sports movies.
Like Brink. They're like, look at us, dude. We're sponsored, and you guys are just street trash. And they're like, what? No, dude.
But if we work hard enough,
yeah,
you know, wasn't that like Mighty Ducks the same way? We're like, we're just a bunch of ragtag kids, and we got hand-me-down pads.
All Gordon, what's his face, gets forced into public service because he's a bad drunk driver guy, and his punishment is he has to work with underprivileged kids and teach them hockey.
What was the one that
the kids with money are better?
That was it was a baseball movie and it had Tiger's Blood. He was the pitcher, and Charlie Sheen.
Yeah. Shit.
What was it? Like Wild something.
He was called
Major League. Thank you, Vince. Thank you, Velvet Santa. Major League. That was another one of those.
Because the Indians were a broke team, and everyone was past their prime. But then they get in Charlie Sheen, and he's Wild
arm.
Thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he brings the team back, but the owner secretly wanted the team to fail because that's how she would make more money.
Night Owl, she said, just realizing how many boobs I saw from all those 80s and 90s titties movies. So many. Yeah, I mean, that was a big selling point. It's like the USA Up All Night genre of movies, and the sports movies were always, you know, because like athletes are always horny, and and they always are in shape. So, you know, everybody wants to look at their boobies and stuff.
Yeah, feel free to make that list.
Yeah, make that list on Discord for research purposes.
I mean, that used to just be part of going to the movies, right? That's how you get your buddies to go, dude, I heard that there's boobies.
Boobies in there. Where's the booby emote? Not a single person dropping the driving speaker box
before
booby
you
emote.
Could just pull up the internet on your phone. Like, no, there's boobs right there. Why do I need to go to the movie?
Yeah, I can't even imagine, like, you know, because my childhood, like, I mean, I had internet, sort of, but I didn't have, like, high-speed 4K in my pocket, right? And there, thanks, Vince. But, like, what a world it must be to, like, be, like, 10 years old and be like, hey, Siri, what's a boob look like? And they're like, well, this is a breast. And you're just like, yeah, dude. You know, you're not having to, like, get the Sears catalog and be like, I wonder what's underneath that bra.
Pass it around with your buddies.
It's like, oh, man, look at that. I don't know. It's like, what a weird world, like, kids must be so desensitized to these days.
Definitely not telling you to watch Doc Hollywood.
At the 21 and 32 minute mark.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, anyway, that's what's coming out in theaters this week. Sorry, just for the listeners out there on the podcast, as my voice is slowly eroding. I've been working really hard not to blow it out again, but I can feel it starting to crack as we get into the second half of the show. Yeah, did you watch any movies?
I didn't see any movies. I was telling the people before on the pre-show, what I did watch was some streaming stuff because there wasn't like really any big new movies that came out. And the time was never right to go watch The Iron Claw this past week.
Because, yeah, I thought you would see The Iron Claw this week.
Yeah, I wanted to, but I ended up getting caught up with a lot of things. So what I did do in the time that I had was I watched the new Dave Chappelle comedy special on Netflix. It's hard to really talk about a comedy special without ruining much of it.
So
But
the jokes.
yeah, but really,
Jokes.
it's pretty good. If you're a Chappelle fan, it's definitely one that you'll want to watch after watching the other Netflix specials, because a lot of it is all callbacks to things. So it could probably stand alone as its own comedy special if you know what's going on in the news, but most of it does rely on you kind of knowing about what's going on in his life and things that have happened recently because of Netflix specials, i.e. expect the trans jokes and stuff like that he's been doing so much
at a
of here
certain
lately.
point, you just, I guess that's the brand. You just have to own it.
Yeah.
You know, and lean into it. I mean, that's like Ricky Gervais, I guess, has got a special out right now on Netflix
I saw
as well.
that too. Yeah.
And just kind of leaning into the controversy that everybody's already talking about to him. Because I feel like, you know, if you're those comedians and you go, okay, well, I'm going to do a special and not talk about it, then everybody's going to go, oh, they're just trying to avoid it, you know, and blah, blah, blah. But then if you lean into it and talk about it, like, oh, it's just the same old stuff. Blah, 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 blah. So, you know.
I mean, and it's kind of pointed out that it is hard to do. I watched a couple of comedy specials, and each one of them kind of pointed out, they're like, it's kind of hard to do comedy when everyone's like, hey, you can't say that thing. It's like, well, that's kind of the entire point of me being here. And they're like, well, it's like offensive and you need to say sorry. And they're like, okay, sorry about it. And they're like, well, that wasn't sincere. It's like, neither was a joke, you idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was from another dude's on Netflix special. He talks about that. But it's good if you're a Chappelle fan. I know one of our commenters already said that they're not a Chappelle fan. I have been for a long time, since the 90s, I guess. So something like that. It's fun. It's out there, but definitely one you want to watch the other Netflix specials first. And then I watched the first couple of episodes of Reacher, the new season of Reacher that came out on Amazon.
It's Reacher's a good show. That first show, or first episode season on Amazon was quite good. And if you've watched our show for long enough, you'll know that we really enjoyed the first Reacher movie, Jack Reacher, with Tom Cruise. And that was that the one with Werner Herzog as the bad guy?
Yes, where they get to the end in the little construction office, and he's like, "Welcome, welcome to my construction."
Welcome to my construction office, Mr. Reacher. You will be nailed to the floor for the rest of eternity while you watch your soul slowly strip from your body in pools of blood that you cannot fathom.
Yeah. Just a very and he just came out of nowhere too, because like Reacher comes in this like construction office at the end of the movie.
Whoa, Mr. Reacher.
Yeah, and he's just like sitting in the shadows, like and he's like has like
I've
one
been
eye.
expecting you.
Yeah. That was the first one. Pretty good movie.
For anything with Werner Herzog, like Werner Herzog is such an interesting cat. Like he's an amazing director. I wouldn't say he's a talented actor, but he's like one of those dudes that you just go, but he's so cool. Put him in the movie, and you do, you know, because he's Werner Herzog.
Yeah. But before I talk about Reacher too much, Dina says something about like needing to make a special trip to watch Iron Claw still. She might need a good cry. That's one reason I'm really not like super just ramped up about it, is because it's like, I like wrestling. I've been a wrestling fan. I know what happens with the Von Erichs, and I know like the real tragedy of things. And it's one of those things where it's like, I know it's going to be a bummer. There's probably cool scenes, you know, I'm gonna be like, oh yeah, Freebirds and Ric Flair and all that kind of stuff, but I'm also gonna be super bummed. So it's just like, it's hard to find yourself in the mood to just get bummed out super hard, you know. But Reacher, the new season, I've gotten a couple episodes in on it, and it is it's just as good as the first one.
So that was my big question, because the first one was cool because it's got that small town, low stakes, you know, everybody around him isn't in on the gig, and there's, you know, the small town cops, and he's the guy that has all the answers. But the trailers to this one look like, oh, well, he's assembling the team again.
Yeah.
It's a little faster paced, and it's like, well, I mean, what kind of makes Jack Reacher cool is he's the only one of this like mysterious background of secret military service, but this one's got all these secret military dudes.
No.
Like, what's going on?
So it opens up, dead body.
Okay, of course.
So there's the kickstart for
Like
the plot.
CSI Miami, like,
Yeah. So there's a dead body, and then immediately you learn it's a member of his special investigators team that he talked about in the first one. And in the first season, you get to see one of the other special investigators. He works along with her, and so she's back in this one. And they try to assemble the team only because they're trying to make sure everyone's still alive, because they can't get a hold of any of them. And after they find the body of the first one, they start trying to call all the rest of them, and they're finding out everyone's hard to reach. And so they get a hold of who they can while they're trying to figure out who's trying to kill them. And meanwhile, you're getting your secondary plot of the T-1000, who's plotting to kill their team and sending dudes to kill them.
What?
Yeah. And there is like a really dumb, obligatory Terminator joke in there, because one of the team, she checks in under the alias of Sarah Connor.
Yo.
And they,
Ba-bum, bum,
yeah.
ba-bum.
And the alias that Jack Reacher uses is like a sports ball dude. And he goes, yeah, well, this was a sports ball guy for baseball like 7 years ago. But who's Sarah Connor? And it goes to the T-1000 actor, which I can't remember his name right now, Robert Patrick. It goes to Robert Patrick, and he goes, no clue. And you're like, yeah, there you go. Yeah, obligatory Terminator nonsense.
So, question though, like what city does it take place in? Is it like an urban? Is it rural?
It's going everywhere.
Oh, okay.
Reacher's in the middle of nowhere. Then he's summoned to New York. They get a couple of people together. They go to Atlantic City, but they're talking about being in the woods. Meanwhile, there's a bad dude who you don't know who he is, and he's landed in L.A., and he's getting fake passports and making his way across the country and stuff like that. So right now, at this point, it's kind of all over the place.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But you get to see Reacher's background, more of it, the assembly
More
of,
than him just like beating up kids on the schoolyard.
Yeah, you get to see the assembly of the special investigators and how this team came together as they find more of their team dead or missing or whatever,
It's interesting because Reacher is one of those things that like embodies a lot of what was kind of wrong with older pulp storytelling, like, the big machismo, the big like stoic dude that's invulnerable and gets the girl, all this kind of stuff, but it's not at the same time. And like Reacher has this more of a timeless, it seems as relevant today as it did when it was written, but without all the dust and cringe that comes with some of those characters that came out of that era.
Yeah, they modernize from when the books were released, for sure, because there's things where in the book you can tell that it was probably, they found a photo frame and there's these pictures in it and stuff, and there's things like that, which is part of what drives the plot, is these people having pictures, and he goes,
his butt, as Mark Landry says on YouTube. A lot of seeing his butt, because look at it.
Well, but they're like, who puts pictures in frames anymore? Like, who does that? And they're like, well, we do, but only this one or two pictures. So only if it's a really important picture, because otherwise, no one has photo books at their home anymore, or
no,
it has that kind of thing done. Hardly. You can go to Walmart and have them print like your photos and stuff like that still, but most people just go, oh, look at this, or like, oh, I'll send it to you.
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah.
You can look at it for 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Scroll through.
So it's good, and the parts like that are modernized, you can kind of tell, but they do it well. And so far, it's a lot like the first season. It's pretty good, and I've liked the first couple of episodes of it, and I'll keep watching that till the season end for sure.
Well, yeah. Well, all right. It's Reacher season 2. It's on Amazon Prime. Did you have to put up with ads yet?
Not yet. It's not till the end of the month.
Okay.
End of the month.
All right,
I think it starts like on the 24th or the 29th, something like that.
Getting close. Well, all right. Well, I didn't get to see anything, so I think it's probably a good time to move over to the box office roundup. last segment of the show we do, where we give you the top 10 movies in the United States. These are mostly domestic numbers unless we specify otherwise. Jake's going to give you the top 10. Start with number 10, move to number 1. And this will be the kind of holiday weekend, New Year's Eve weekend, December 29th through December 31st, 2023. The last box office weekend of 2023 before we get into 2024 numbers. So, yeah, Jake, number 10. Take it away, man.
Let's start at number 11 real quick. Godzilla -1, still up there. It brought in $2.25 million, bringing its domestic take up to just shy of $46 million.
Yeah.
And I was reading an article earlier that said that I think across the world it's made like 80 plus.
I can click that.
Yeah, it was 80 million last time.
81.
81.6. So not bad for a movie that was budgeted less than $15 million.
And as Dina pointed out on Twitch, like if you're going by per theater average, then it would technically put it in the number 7 spot.
Yeah, hot damn.
So, yeah.
And then just above it at number 10, starting the top 10, The Boy and the Heron, another Japanese release here. $2.5 million brought in by that one.
And in less than 1,000
Less
theaters,
than
too.
1,000
So its
theaters.
per theater average would have put it at like the number 5 spot.
Yeah,
Number 6.
and it's 4 weeks out. That brings it in the U.S. up to $36 million. So pretty good for your old Ghibli. And then just above it at number 9, Hunger Games, Ballad of Ding Dongs and Boogers. 2.9 million brought in by that one, and it's 7 weeks out, 159.8. Not bad for that one that no one expected much from. So well done on them for finding the good release time for that movie to come out. Opening at the number 8 spot, the Adam Driver led Ferrari, $4 million brought in by that one. But it has nearly $11 million. I think there was some big preview openings probably from that.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, having $7 million more than what the opening listed weekend's at. So how about that? That one didn't get a lot of advertising. I think I only started seeing ads for it maybe like
Just recently.
2 weeks. Yeah. So not bad. And then just above it at number 7, movie we were just talking about, The Iron Claw. $5 million brought in by that one, which is actually an increase for it, so that's good to see. It's in 2,800 theaters. It gained a few this past week, bringing its domestic take so far up to 16.3. So I wonder what the budget on that one was. Not a lot made by it overseas.
I don't think it's been released overseas yet. Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah. So being American wrestling, it'd be interesting to see how that one does in other countries. And then above it, opening at number 6, The Boys in the Boat, $8.4 million brought in by that one. I think what it is
holiday
Christmas,
weekend, Christmas, yeah.
Christmas releases, because it's showing $22 million. So I was
some of those
sure
get
that was in the theater.
Released on Christmas Day, which was in the middle of the week. So, yeah, it's got a longer run.
Yeah, I thought that one was open the day before Christmas.
Probably so, just to get an early.
Yeah. So the numbers are a little weird right now, but yeah, 22 million brought in by that. I saw that one is something that they're so far pretty happy about.
I mean, 22 million for a movie like that. I mean, I was saying in the pre-show, movies like this do not look appealing to me. Just a bunch of affluent, rich Ivy Leaguers just succeeding at stuff. Like, okay, yeah. Oh, we got to paddle really hard, guys. Come on, we're gonna beat this other team of affluent white athletes. It's I'm not a big sports movie guy anyway. Especially sports movies that are sports that only rich Aryan types can play. Like,
but that's this whole thing is it's like the guy's sticking it to Hitler.
I know, but it's still like rowing is
that's an Ivy League. Like
it's a douchey sport, man. Like, sorry if you're really into rowing, but I don't know. There's just some sports out there that are just kind of douchey.
Like, where do you live or where did you go to school? That's a thing for you.
Yeah.
But this also took place like 100 years ago. So, and then at number 5, Anyone But You, probably the movie that you are most excited to see
Can't
out of all
wait.
of them so far. 8.75 million brought in by that one, which is nearly a 50% increase. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Bringing it up to just under 25 million, and it's 2 weeks out. I had read about that earlier, that a lot of people, I guess, were just like, hey, I've heard good things. Let's go watch this. Or it was something that everyone, like their girlfriend talked them into going to watch, or
Who knows?
Yeah. But opening on Christmas Day, so this is its whole take. In the past weekend, it brought in $11.7 million. But for Christmas up to the past weekend, its domestic take has been $44 million for The Color Purple.
Doing very well.
Musical edition.
Mark Landry says, looking forward to the new sports movie about the Uruguay rugby plane crash cannibals. I'd watch that. Okay, number 3.
Number 3, Migration, holding that number 3 spot. $17 million brought in by it, and it's 2 weeks out. It's up to $54 million. That one also got a big bump from holiday crowds. Apparently, audience have really liked it, but it was kind of
just hard to get people in
panned
there
online a little bit. Yeah. And then dropping from the top spot to go down to number 2, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom. $18.25 million brought in by that one. $76.6 million in the U.S. in its 2 weeks. And like we talked about earlier,
255.
yeah, 255 across the world, dominating Marvel's last outing, but not doing what they would have really wanted to get out of the last DC EU movie. And plus there's been all those Momoa interviews where he's like, yeah, dude, screw it, I'm done with Aquaman, who cares, I want to be Lobo.
Yeah, he has said that.
He's
like,
very publicly in several interviews being like, well, I thought for sure when I first cast as Aquaman I'd be Lobo, so if there's going to be a Lobo, call me. Can't wait to be Lobo. It'd be really cool if there was Lobo, because I would love to be Lobo. So I think he just wants to get paid to ride a motorcycle on screen.
and be what he's already turned Aquaman into.
Yeah, just
Like,
be
yeah, let's drink beers and eat tacos.
Yeah, it makes more sense when it's Lobo.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because everyone can be like, Lobo, you're an asshole. And he's like, space asshole.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then swapping spots with Aquaman, climbing from the number 2 spot up to the number 1 with the holiday boost, bringing in $22.7 million. Wonka musical edition, full-blown musical edition. In its 3 weeks, 133.6 in the U.S. Who would have guessed it? That has brought in $385 million across the world. And you know what? We talked about like the bait and switch thing. At no point in the trailers do they go, this is fully musical, full on musical.
Nope.
No. And in fact, I was in a store the other day, a small store where most people end up kind of knowing each other and stuff. But this person came in with his family and they're like, hey, welcome in, all this stuff and everything. He's like, yeah, we were just stopping in. We're on our way to the movies. And the clerk goes, oh, what movie are you going to watch? Wonka. And he had the whole family with him. And I was like, dude, hey, heads up. It is a musical, full musical. There's more singing than talking. And he goes, thanks for letting me know. Because he goes, the only movie I've ever walked out of was the same thing. He went into a movie not knowing it was a musical, and it became one. And he's like, this is not what I expected, and walked out. So he's like, I really appreciate the heads up on that, because I would have been so mad walking into it.
There was people in my theater being like, what the hell, another song? Yeah. But Vince said Fathom Events has a lot to add to the calendar. He said on Twitch, some movies that might interest people here on the show are Wizard of Oz, Labyrinth, South Park, Bigger, Longer, Uncut, The Neverending Story, Rear Windows, Blazing Saddles, and Fifth Element. So check your local Fathom Event listings for movies that are coming out near you. Fathom Events are gaining a lot of traction now. Remember when they were one of those things that people were like, what's Fathom? What's Fathom? And now people like, no.
Should I try to watch Labyrinth in the theater again?
Dude. It's only forever.
Because I didn't get to.
Yeah, I've never seen it in the theater.
Yeah, I thought you did.
I never saw Labyrinth.
Is that not the one that the framing was off in the theater and I stormed out of the...
No, that was Princess Bride.
Oh.
Yep. Never seen Labyrinth in the theater. Vince on Twitch just dropped a link to the Fathom Events calendar in the chat, so you guys can check that out. It's fathomevents.com/events.
Dina says that she thinks the Mean Girls musical is going to have people that are pissed not knowing that. That one, however, in its advertisement is very clear that one is a musical. they have the singing and stuff in it, and there was no songs in the original. Wonka, they could show a little bit of singing, and you're like, well, there were songs in the Gene Wilder one that I love so much. The original Mean Girls did not have anything like that, so them showing singing
You're like,
throughout the whole trailer, you're like,
okay,
it's a musical. Yeah, the Wonka thing, the shocking part is that it was 98% singing and very little talking at all.
Well, all right, guys. Well, that sums it up. That's your box office report, and that's our show, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Hopefully you've had a happy New Year's. We'll be back next week, Monday night. Same time, 8 o'clock. Like and subscribe wherever it is you like to follow us. Facebook, Twitch, YouTube. We really prefer Twitch. A lot more fun tools, and you get access to the pre-show. But if you don't want to look at all of this, don't want to see these comments, don't want to participate, you can always download the audio version of this podcast wherever it is you download podcasts. And do not forget to share and like and tell your friends. So,
Velvet Santa wanted us to open.
Oh. Well, there's nothing to open. I just have to reach down blindly because he didn't wrap any of the other stuff. So I just have never looked at it. So we're gonna drop 2. I'm just gonna pass this under the table.
Oh, okay.
And then we're gonna reveal 2 gifts that Velvet Santa has sent us from the goodie box. So okay, Jake, 3, 2, 1. VHS cassette copy of the Flintstones. And you got a VHS cassette copy of Johnny Mnemonic. I like that VHS cassette case where it
this Nickelodeon VHS.
Yeah, but look at where the tape goes into his forehead and becomes a part of the cover art. That's pretty cool.
A pulse pounding cyber slam.
A pulse pounding cyber slam.
Yeah, it's like an open case.
Oh,
too.
Geez. This is prehistorical hysterical. Great fun. The Flintstones is fun, says Time Magazine. Like, what a rave review. It's fun. Yeah, there you go. So Rick Moranis, John Goodman, the whole gang right here, Flintstones, just adding to the pile of VHS cassette tapes. Like, actually, if you add that, you might almost be able to see it on camera. It's like, it's getting very close. It's like right here. But anyway, thanks, Velvet Santa, for those. We'll dig into the box next week. Silly question, but can you guys play them? I have a VCR, I just don't have it hooked up.
Yeah, I can dig the VCR that I have out at some point. For sure.
Yeah, maybe I'll hook up a VCR to one of these things, and I'll just put it in the background, and it'll roll during showtime. That could be fun. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you guys next week. And as always, I am Bo, the boom operator.
I'm the Grip.
And have a great 2024.
See ya.
As you leave the theater, folks, please be careful. Don't let this happen to your car. Be sure to remove the speaker before you leave. If you should accidentally pull a speaker loose, please turn it in at our snack bar or box office. Thank you.